Welcome, human resource and organization development professionals. In my leadership courses, frontline leaders frequently express some dissatisfaction with their employees' attitudes. The employee may get the work done, but their timeliness, their level of completion, the customer service that they bring to others leaves much to be desired. Yesterday, in conversation with some friends, I was reminded of a tool that my wife and I discovered when we were homeschooling our kids called the 5 I Wills of Obedience. It shows how one can very explicitly define what good work is and link not only the output of the job, but the attitude with which one does it. Let's explore the 5 I Wills of Obedience and see how they can be used to help improve performance in the work environment.
Let me provide a bit of context. Assuming that the employee has in him or herself everything that they need to do the work in terms of capability, knowledge, and skill, sound leadership theory says that the leader only needs to provide a few things. The first is clear direction, laid out in the form of specific expectations about the results that are expected and any required behaviors. Secondly, they need what we broadly label as support, i.e. the tools, resources, time, and a working environment that is conducive to task accomplishment. And thirdly, accountability. Accountability is simply keeping track of how the performer is doing relative to the expectations and then providing that information. A proper definition of accountability also includes consequences that are aligned to the work and which the person doing the work values. So here are the 5 I wills. The first is, I will obey immediately. The second is, I will obey cheerfully. I will complete the tasks I start. I will obey without complaining. And I will go the extra mile. So what do these do for parents of young children? Well, think about it. Who has ever told their child to go clean your room and experienced, say, delay, where the child continues to play on his or her phone? You wait a minute, and hearing no response, you ask something like, "Hey, did you hear me?" And the child distractedly says, "I'll get to it in a minute," which then turns into longer. Or they cry, "I don't want to clean my room." Or they get started, you think all is well, and you check on them an hour later. A few items are picked up, but the room still looks to be a mess, and Johnny is once again on his phone. In each of these scenarios, you're frustrated. The job isn't really done, but if you're like many parents, you struggle to clearly come down on them. After all, they didn't defy you in an outright manner. They didn't tell you absolutely not. So if you're like many, you keep dropping hints, making requests, and getting more frustrated. So, still speaking about how this helps a parent, the 5 I wills draw nice, clear lines around the specific ways you want any task, chore, or assignment handled. With our children, we made it abundantly clear that all 5 I wills, let me repeat that. All 5 I wills are required for each and every task in order for them to be obedient. If even one of the 5 I wills was lacking, for example, if Rihanna, our daughter, started a task but failed to finish because she, quote, got distracted, or if our son Kyle immediately stopped what he was doing but trudged off to clean his room and was complaining under his breath, my wife, Melissa, and I learned to stop them immediately, identify which of the I wills was missing, and then administer appropriate discipline. It was clearer for us and for them. Stress went down, and our kids learned a solid work ethic that is still with each of them today.
So that's all well and good, you say, but how does this help my managers in a work setting? We're not dealing with 8-year-olds, and we don't have quite the authority that a parent does over a child. So what's useful? I think there are 2 takeaways. Takeaway number 1, we must take upon ourselves the responsibility to teach what good attitude and good work really entails. Many folks in the workforce, not necessarily a younger or older generation, but many folks don't understand that their attitude is every bit as relevant, as important, and subject to expectations as the work product itself and the production thereof. The 5 I wills give us a way to talk about this, a way to point out the important characteristics of quality, of timeliness, of follow-through, of cheerfulness, and so forth. Feel free to change the verbiage if you want. If cheerfulness isn't the kind of words that you would see yourself talking about in a work environment, talk about superior customer service and what's involved in that. That translates everywhere. But let's don't anymore neglect this as a topic for our people and then get upset when they're not giving us what we want. I think the second takeaway is really we need to set this as part of our expectations. In the leadership workshops that I teach, there's always a section around performance conversations. How do you talk to someone when they're not giving you what you expect so that they raise their performance and get back to delivering good work? As part of that conversation, we always ask people, what are the real performance issues that you're dealing with day in and day out? And 50% or better of the ones they produce are exactly the kind of issues that we're talking about in today's video. People aren't doing it in a timely fashion. They're not completing their tasks fully, completely. They're not doing it with a good attitude. And all of these have negative impacts in the work environment. So it is real. It does get in the way of the kind of great performance that we want to provide. So let's start setting expectations around attitude. Use the 5 I wills. Whether you need to change the verbiage or not, that's great and encouraged. But let's start setting some expectations. Let's start training and teaching and reminding folks about this. And let's see performance improve in our work environments. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you got a lot out of it. Look forward to seeing you next time.